What happened here? Did you touch me?
What do you mean? You were telling me to choke you, baby, a few hours ago.
This is a mistake. My wife must not hear this.
Annabella was happily married to Chris for 4 years. They lived in Abuja. Annabella owned a high-fashion boutique in Abuja where high-caliber women came to shop for their wares. Annabella's husband was wealthy, and most importantly, he loved his wife so much. But there was one silent battle they couldn't win. They had been trying to have a child. They tried everything: prayer, fasting, numerous tests and treatments, but nothing worked. Chris once suggested adopting a baby, but his wife refused, which he respected. Annabella had a younger sister named Precious. After their mother died, Annabella stepped in. She catered for her, saw her through school, and did everything for her. When Precious finished university and was posted to Abuja for NYSC, she went to her sister's house. Annabella welcomed her warmly. They talked, catching up on everything they had missed, ate together, and went to bed. Weeks passed, and Precious had not gone for any NYSC service. Every day, after Annabella left for her boutique, and while Chris worked from home, Precious would deliberately seduce him. She made sure they drank almost all the wine in the house. Chris became heavily drunk, but Precious remained sober. She led Chris upstairs to the bedroom and took advantage of him while he was in no state to make a conscious decision. Chris woke up to find himself unclothed, with Precious lying beside him. Startled, he asked, "What happened here? Did you do something?" Precious smirked and replied, "What do you mean? You were the one mourning, saying, 'Kill me, baby, kill me, baby.' You even said I taste better than your wife. You were very much there with me." She stood up, picked up her clothes, and walked out. Later that afternoon, Chris pulled her aside and told her this had to remain a secret. Annabella must never find out. Precious agreed. When Annabella came back from work, all three of them acted as though everything was perfectly normal. A month later, Precious discovered she was pregnant. She told Chris immediately. Chris was shocked and deeply confused. "What is your plan?" he asked. "I don't have any plans," Precious replied coolly. "As it stands, you have to marry me." Chris felt a sharp pain in his chest. "Marry you? I am married to your sister." "How is that my problem?" Precious answered. That night, Chris could not sleep. He was tormented, but he wanted the child more than anything. He made a decision. He would move Precious out of the house. He bought her a house in Lagos where she would stay until she gave birth. Chris began traveling to Lagos every 2 weeks because that was the condition Precious gave him. When Precious was 5 months pregnant, she gave him an ultimatum: marry her properly or she would disappear with the baby and he would never see either of them again. The following week, they had a quiet, small wedding. It was not loud or celebrated. Slowly, Chris began to develop feelings for Precious. He no longer had time for his wife, Annabella. He would come home cheerful after leaving Precious's place. But the moment he set eyes on Annabella, his mood would shift. He stopped eating his wife's food and became distant and cold. Annabella noticed something was deeply wrong, but couldn't place her finger on it. 2 weeks later, Chris told her he was traveling for a business meeting. She packed his bag as she always did. The moment he drove out of the compound, she quietly followed him. Chris drove to the airport, parked his car in a paid parking space, and boarded a flight to Lagos. Annabella returned home and immediately contacted her longtime friend Jago, who lived in Lagos, to hire a private investigator. The investigator began his work, following Chris everywhere without his knowledge, secretly photographing him as he shopped for baby items. Jago sent the pictures and the address to Annabella. She stared at the photos in confusion. "I'm not pregnant. Why is my husband buying baby things?" First thing the next morning, she boarded a flight to Lagos and followed the address. When she arrived and knocked on the door, it swung open And there stood Precious, heavily pregnant. Precious, what are you doing here? And you're pregnant. What is going on? From the bathroom, Chris called out, "Babe, who's that?" Precious said nothing. He came out and froze the moment he saw Annabella standing there. "What are you doing here? How did you find this place?" "Us?" Annabella's voice cracked. "This is the business meeting you are talking about, and Precious is pregnant? Don't tell me it's what I'm thinking." Precious stepped forward and cut in. "It's exactly what you're thinking, my sister. I am pregnant for Chris, and we are married, happily married, by the way. I am not the one who made you barren. That is not my fault. And if you think about it, maybe this is just how the universe decided I would meet my soulmate, through you." Annabella turned to her sister, her voice trembling. "After everything I have done for you, this is how you repay me? You both betrayed me like this?" Tears streamed down Annabella's face. "It was a one-time thing," Chris said, his voice low. "It was a mistake. I was drunk. She told me she was pregnant and I wanted a child, so I did what I felt I had to do." "You have found what you are looking for," Precious said firmly, looking at Annabella. "Now leave my house." Annabella walked out broken and shattered. The betrayal was too heavy. Her heart could barely carry it. 4 months later, Precious gave birth to a baby boy. But when Chris arrived at the hospital and saw the child, something unsettled him deeply. The baby's face carried an unusual aged look, as though life had already worn him before it had even begun. Without a word, Chris quietly slipped out of the hospital, leaving Precious alone with her newborn. He never went back to Annabella. Instead, he packed what he could and traveled to Jalingo to start over, somewhere no one knew his name. And just like that, karma came knocking at both their doors. Please, my new viewers, please support this channel. God bless you all.